These nations, often cooperating through regional security frameworks, are central to U.S. efforts to counter Iranian influence, with many hosting U.S. military bases and participating in collective defense. So, as these different nations that America has, partnered with and allied with, many of these Arab nations are partnered with mainly Saudi Arabia. Many of these countries are partnered with Babylon through the petrol deal. Basically, America promised we will protect you, okay, even set up military bases in your land if you, trade your oil in dollars, okay? But as this war is being started, to push it forward, all right, it's a lot of history, but as this war has been started, all right, these places are being bombed, all right, and the places that are being bombed are U.S. bases in these different Arab countries, set up, okay? And America is not protecting them like they promised, okay? So this, the Strait of Hormuz being shut down, okay, different bases and oil refineries being hit, as we'll show you, is going to lead to hell for Babylon more than hell for Iran. Because as she's saying, and as people have been saying, all Iran has to do, all right, because Iran is mostly rock. Again, you're not getting ready to just invade Iran like that. And then now you're talking about putting boots on the ground. It's basically a setup for failure. Again, no nation has ever just invaded Iran and made it for after a while they give up. See, this is how, they've been able to keep, relevance in that land, because it's strongly fortified by mountains. Now, some of it.
Right now, the largest American naval force in years is heading toward Iran. But before anyone talks...
Heading towards Iran. Okay, now when you look at that, look at it.
Right now, the largest American naval force in years is heading toward Iran.
Okay, this is the book of Joel. Joel 2:20, how the Lord is going to bring us home. All right, is by a brawl for it all via the heathen, which is going to usher in the coming of his son through World War III. Okay, it's all in the scriptures. We can go to it. Okay, if you need understanding, just ask. We'll do a video showing you the Lord is going to return during war. Okay, during a war, and the heathen are even going to war against him. That it tells you that when Yahushua returns, these heathen are going to war against him anyway. Joel 2:20, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, and I will drive him into a land barren and desolate. Okay, Saudi Arabia, with his face towards the East Sea. All right, which the East Sea, all right, is the Persian Gulf, which eventually ties to the Euphrates River as well. Right? So his face towards the East Sea as he's pushing towards Iran, right? His face towards the East Sea and his hinder part towards the utmost sea. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he have done great things. Meaning he's going to be destroyed. He's going to lose. Okay? His stench will come up. Okay? His stench is going to come up. His foul odor, meaning it's going to be a lot of death. All right? And they're going to send your sons and daughters over there for this bugged out mission for the Greater Israel Project.
But before anyone talks about what happens next, look at this pattern. Alexander the Great invades Persia in 330 BC. His campaign collapses. The Mongols invade in 1219. Decades of fighting never finish the job. Saddam Hussein invades in 1980 with American weapons. 8 years, 1 million dead, gets nowhere. The US invades Afghanistan next door in 2001. 20 years later, withdraws in defeat.
Through
4 empires, 4 centuries, 4 different technologies, same outcome. What is it about this place that makes it unconquerable? The answer is written in the terrain itself. Iran sits in the heart of the Middle East, bordered by Iraq to the west, Afghanistan to the east, Turkey and the Caucasus to the north, and the Persian Gulf to the south. It's roughly 1.65 million square kilometers, about the size of Alaska, with 90 million people. Pull up a map of Iran. The entire country is a natural fortress. 2 massive mountain ranges guard the borders.
Okay? And all they have to do, all right, even though we know America does have more, bizarre technology and missiles, okay, all they have to do is withstand the offense, okay? And eventually, this war can go 100% left for Israel and America, because in the grand scheme of things, they're going to lose those Arab allies. Because why are we taking a risk? Even when, the Saudis made that deal, all right, with America, for the purpose of, with the petrodollar deal and setting up, bases and even cities in this, eastern region, a lot of these Arab nations were mad at the Saudis for that. Okay? Anyway, Iran is fortified. Okay? And you go put boots on the ground here, it's just a setup for a lot of people to go back to the spirit world, which Esau doesn't give a damn.
The Zagros Mountains to the west, running 1,600 kilometers, and the Alborz Mountains to the north, stretching 900 kilometers. Between them sits a plateau over 1,200 meters high, and filling the center are 2 of the hottest deserts on Earth. This isn't just difficult terrain. This is geography that's been stopping armies for 2,500 years. Now here's where it gets interesting. Everything described so far, mountains, deserts, supply line nightmares, that's all ancient geography. But it's 2026. Modern militaries have precision-guided missiles that can hit a target from 1,000 kilometers away. They have drones that don't need supply lines. They have satellite surveillance that sees everything. They have air superiority that can destroy any conventional military in weeks. So the question becomes, does geography even matter anymore? The United States can absolutely strike Iran, launch airstrikes to destroy facilities, hit leadership bunkers, potentially destroy nuclear sites. Though Fordow is buried 90 meters inside a mountain. Execute a naval blockade through the Strait of Hormuz, which handles 20% of the world's oil. Modern technology makes all of that possible. But here's the question no one wants to ask. Can you invade? Can you occupy? Can you control 90 million people across terrain like this?
Can you really get a regime change, right, in Iran? Are you really going to do that? Have you done that? No.
Because strikes are one thing. Holding territory is something completely different. Let me show you exactly how this fortress works. These aren't gentle hills. The Zagros peaks rise over 4,000 meters high, with narrow passes, no water sources, and brutal elevation changes that make every approach a kill zone. And we know it works because it's been tested. From 1980 to 1988, Saddam Hussein tried to invade through these mountains. He had American intelligence, French weapons, and chemical weapons. For 8 years, Iraqi forces attacked. The result? They never broke through. Over 1 million people died, and the war ended in stalemate. The geography was impenetrable. Here's why mountains matter militarily.
So this prophecy really has already, happened in the book of Joel. They've been over there losing, but
supply lines become impossible. No roads, extreme altitude. Artillery and armor can't navigate the terrain. Defensive positions become unassailable with high ground advantage.
All right, we'll come back to this. So let's start over and listen to her again. Because, a lot of people are echoing the same thing.
They're attacking the global economy from the inside. They're aiming for the Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, Qatar, the financial engines that keep the U.S. economy alive.
Okay. So Iran is attacking U.S. bases, all right, in, these various different areas where U.S. have bases, okay?
Blocking the Strait of Hormuz cuts 90% of the food entering these countries. An inexpensive drone can...
And there's other countries outside of Babylon that benefit from certain deals with these regions. So when it's all said and done, everybody is going to look at the common denominator, Israel and America, and say, F this, and flip. This is what prophecy says, okay?
And destroy the desalination plant and leave millions of people without water in 2 weeks. No water, no food, no oil. These countries will collapse. And when they do, they're going to stop investing in the U.S. They'll stop recycling petrodollars in the Wall Street, and they'll stop financing the AI and the data centers and support the American economic bubble. Iran doesn't need to win the battle. They need to break up this alliance. And when the bubble bursts, it's going to take everything down with it. Iran's strategy is different. They want to make this war last. They want to make it hurt. They want to make it expensive. Iran isn't attacking the U.S. military directly. They're attacking the global economy from the inside. They're aiming for the Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, Qatar, the financial engines that keep the U.S. economy alive. Blocking the Strait of Hormuz cuts 90% of the food entering these countries. An inexpensive drone can destroy the desalination plant and leave millions of people without water in 2 weeks. No water, no food, no oil. These countries will collapse. And when they do, they're going to stop investing in the U.S. They'll stop recycling petrodollars into Wall Street, and they'll stop financing the AI and the data centers that support the American economic bubble. Iran doesn't need to win the battle. They need to break up this alliance. And when the bubble bursts, it's going to take everything down with it.
Everything about this is about collapsing the global economy. That's all it is. They're bankrupting every single one of us. $150 a barrel. Your loaf of bread is going to start costing $12. I mean, you realize that groceries will triple, if not quadruple, in cost. That's what this is. They're going to bankrupt and take every single cent we have. And you want to know why ICE is building these mega detention centers? It's not for immigrants. It's for those people who are going to be starving and protesting and rioting for food. That's what this is about. This has nothing to do with regime change. Like, seriously, it's just so ridiculous that we even buy into the system. These greedy oligarchs have set up Trump and Co. as like the last bastion of democracy. These puppets, just fools, you know, and they're going to wipe us clean, dude. And then they're going to instill the most authoritarian overlord dictatorships you've ever seen. You know, that's what Palantir and all this is about. Like, every single thing. If you just look at everything. We're going to end up in one of the worst global depressions, not a U.S. depression, a global depression, where people are just going to be fighting it out on the streets. And you know how they're going to get more members for ICE? Anybody who's starving, they'll pay to get a gun and go stop those other ones who don't want to take that job. That's what this is everything about. It's everything. It's about taking every last thing we have and starving us.
Well, this one dude, what's his name? Professor Jin, which, you know, people who are into, you know, this type of talk are getting paid. They're going on all these different pro platforms. But listen to what he said.
In other words, this is a war, not just for Iran. This is a war, not just for the Middle East. It is a war for the soul of humanity. World War III is meant to be the last and final war of all human history. Because whoever wins this war will control the very soul of human existence. The game that you think they're playing is not the game they're playing. The reward that you think they want is not the reward that they want, okay?
Okay, yeah, you think it's more than oil. Okay, they want their birthright. Okay, and the children of Ishmael, who are also, you know, children of Abraham. Okay, there's getting ready to be what they call the Abrahamic religions are all gonna clash. This is what we're witnessing here. There's Christianity, Judaism, Islam. Okay, and pretty much what we're witnessing is all prophetic. Okay.
Okay? We think in terms of material things. Okay, so money, resources, power. We think that the war is being fought over these things, and it's not. The real power,
That's just one aspect of it.
the real currency, human consciousness. This war is being fought to control the consciousness of the human race, because it is our consciousness that creates reality itself. That's the source of all wealth and all power in this world.
Yep, and they again, they could never have enough now, because through it all, there's literal war that's going to take place. There's literal lives that are going to be affected through the moves the elites are making for their own. Again, what did we just read? Proverbs 15 and 27. He that is greedy of gain troubleth his own house. So his own house are going to, you know, suffer from the moves that he's making. Okay, let's go here.
Look, I think the bottom line is this. I think people are realizing this war serves zero U.S. interests, okay? It doesn't benefit us whatsoever, and it's an L. And as a matter of fact, let me show you guys. I wrote a whole tweet about this real quick. So Trump's war is a profound strategic blunder. Let's define victory first, because it isn't symmetric. For the United States, success means full regime change, a new pro-Western government, nukes and missiles gone, proxies dismantled. That requires ground invasion and occupation, a 90 million person theocracy now fueled by martyrdom. It's full regime change, a new pro-Western government, nukes and missiles gone, proxies dismantled. That requires ground invasion and occupation, a 90 million person theocracy now fueled by martyrdom. History proves it's nearly impossible without massive casualties. Air power degrades assets but can't install leaders.
See, it's going to take massive casualties. And Esau don't give a damn. He's going to send your children over there. Your husbands and your wives are going to go over there to get destroyed. Okay? As a matter of fact, okay, Israeli former defense minister is not ruling out putting U.S. boots on the ground in Iran. Boots mean human beings.
Do you think eventually there will be a need for boots on the ground?
I would not exclude it for those reasons or other, but we'll have to see how it goes forward.
And will that include Israeli boots on the ground, do you think?
I exclude nothing. We've been waiting for 47 years, and we can't.
Listen to it. Why the F are Israeli politicians making combat decisions regarding American troops? Hegseth vows U.S. will go as far as we need to topple Iranian regime as conflict escalates, including possible boots on the ground. Okay? What is Candace Owens saying? Do not join or remain in the United States military. Candace Owens insists after former Israeli defense minister says he excludes nothing on possible, boots on the ground. Okay? As a matter of fact, let's listen to this and we'll go to another one.
Iran, victory straightforward. Survive. Endure the strikes, inflict pain, close the Strait of Hormuz, 20-30% of the global oil, shut down Qatar's gas, 20% of the world supply, push prices from $80 towards $150 to $200, drone Gulf bases, and they're prepared 40 years. Decentralized government, proxies, mines, drones. They don't care to defeat us. They just need to outlast our patience. Ignore the Warhawks noise. We're crushing them. 70% capability gone. Right. I'm sure you guys have seen a bunch of these what I call magatards and Warhawks on YouTube, right? That's irrelevant. Asymmetric warfare isn't a scoreboard. It's about cost and endurance. Iran fights for existence. We chose this optional fight. Their stake is existential. Ours is selective. Here's why this is an epic. Number one, dead man switch triggered. The Ayatollah plus 50 top officials on day one activated decentralized retaliation. Missiles hit Israel and Gulf states within an hour. No single head to cut. The system was designed for this. 2, no uprising. Theocracy breeds faith-based loyalty. Iranians may resent their leaders, but they revile foreign invaders even more.
All they're going to do, all this is doing is getting those Arab nations on one accord. That's what this is going to do. The differences that they have, eventually they're all going to put them aside. Not only Iran, but all of the Arab nations. Okay, this is what 2nd Esdras 15 is talking about.
Westernized exiles like Patrick Bet-David or the Shah's heirs offer zero ground truth. They're out of touch. Real talk, they really are. Bro, you know what I've been thinking about? Every time I see these Iranians talking about, oh yeah, we need to, topple the regime, whatever. I'm just like in my head, like, these guys are so out of touch. It's insane because you guys got to know, a lot of these Iranians that are like complaining about this, like their family member got exiled. They've been out the country for 30 or 40 years. Like maybe they liked the Shah back in the day. But a lot of these diaspora Iranians are not, symbolic of how Iranians feel today in the country. Okay. Quite frankly, these right? They're like, oh yes, down with the regime, and they're dancing with the old Iranian flag with the line in the back. Think of this song right here. They're out of touch, bro. Okay, because if you look at the Iranians in Iran, they're like, yeah, we're gonna strike back. Okay, so trust me, there ain't gonna be no uprising, bro. That's why Trump is trying to get the Kurds to do it. Okay, and that leads me to my next point: Kurdish proxy fantasy. Forcing Kurds through Iran's western mountains is a tactical suicide. Tehran already bombarded Iraqi Kurdistan to block it. They knew it was coming. They already bombed the fuck out these, bro. Okay. Nuclear pretext exposed. Trump bragged Operation Midnight Hammer obliterated the program in 2025. Now it's 2 weeks away. Same old Netanyahu line. JCPOA exit under Zionist pressure, diplomacy. We created the threat, then wage war to fix it. Real driver, Israel's missile fears, not ours. Okay? In the U.S., we're using the nuclear myth to justify going to war, but the real reason we're going to war is those ballistic missiles, which are raining hell on it right now, as you guys know. Iranian drones rain down while we fail. No rebuild if the regime survives. Diplomacy severs. U.S. presence crumbles. Gulf states will pivot to Russia or China for real security.
Gulf states, will pivot to Russia or China. Gulf Cooperation Council. Okay? What is the GCC? Okay? Most commonly refers to the GNU, a suite of programming tools Gulf Cooperation Council, a political economic union of 6 Middle Eastern nations. Okay? And America is up in that. Right? Okay? The United States maintains strongly allied with 6 members of the Gulf Cooperation Council: Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Oman. And if you notice, these places are getting hit. Okay? See that? Gulf states caught in the crossfire of war with Iran. Okay? So as these U.S., as these U.S., the U.S. has bases set up in all of these countries. As these bases continue to get affected, it's only going to affect the Gulf states and make them, all right, renege on even dealing with America. See, this is how the wine of Babylon eventually bites you in the ass. Okay? You get sanctioned. You get caught in the middle of a war. You get told you got to do this. They come to the meeting cursing you out, telling you what you need to do. The wine of Babylon, all right? And also, Esau Edom set up particular, because as he got into these Gulf states and made these deals, as a matter of fact, let me pull up this video real quick. See what comes up.
The money of thousands of stockholders in a project that might well end in complete loss.
And second off, this desert was a part of a very hardcore religious 30s, and the US doesn't have a significant presence in the Middle East at this point. But that's about to change because there's a company based in California that wants to explore this vast desert for oil.
11,000 miles from San Francisco, there lies a primeval desert. A mass of drifting sand and sun-baked earth, 1/3 the size of the United States.
This was sort of a risky decision for the California company because first off, they had no idea if there was actually any oil here.
They knew it would mean sinking into the desert the money of thousands of stockholders in a project that might well end in complete loss.
And second off, this desert was a part of a very hardcore religious kingdom.
The fact that Mecca is the source and the shrine of Islam gives Saudi Arabia a central place in the Islamic and therefore the Arab world.
That was home to the holiest sites in Islam, run by a dogmatic royal family that did not like outsiders, especially non-believing Westerners. But even still, the king of the Desert Kingdom eventually gives the California company permission to explore almost 1 million square kilometers of this desert looking for oil. And after a few years, the bet paid off. And on March 3rd, 1938, in this little patch of coastal desert, they struck gold. Well, actually, they struck oil, but it might as well have been gold.
And if you notice, in that area is where the U.S. has most of their bases, where they first found all that oil.
So throughout the 30s and 40s, American oil executives, workers, and their families started flocking to the Middle East, establishing the first significant American presence in the region. They set up...
And this is not the Middle East, this is Western Asia.
Little cities around the oil operation that were little slices of America, full of the deepest sinful behavior, like allowing women to drive and the consumption of alcohol.
Here is another American colony, complete with air-conditioned houses, 2 hospitals, and an outdoor movie theater.
This is the sort of stuff that is very off limits in Saudi Arabia. It's literally illegal at this point. So you have a lot of Saudis who are not happy about their government letting the Americans in to behave however they want.
So the Americans went over there behaving how they wanted. They brought their culture in the middle of Arab culture, which is very strict. Okay, this is why once Esau Edom under Biden left Afghanistan, immediately the men told the women to shut the F up. You can't drive no more, and they put them back in order. All right, because America goes over there with all this propaganda, because over in certain Arab countries, the women don't drive. The women have to wear the jihad, I believe, and Esau goes over there liberating them. Then he uses his Western media to, make these people out to be the worst of the worst and terrorists and rebels and oppressive. Meanwhile, look what he's doing to his people with liberty and freedom. Anyway.
But the oil kept flowing. And soon the US government goes to the royal family and says, listen, the oil is flowing better than ever. This is awesome. How about we build a little military base attached to our little oil city so that we can, protect you and protect us and protect the oil and stuff. And the Saudis are like, okay, having the great Satan come to our country for oil is one thing, but letting them set up a full-on military base on our soil, and especially when everyone in our country is not happy with their presence in the first place. But, said the royal family, all of this oil is really valuable and it's really nice and we're getting super rich. So they're like, yeah, sure, set up the base. But there was one stipulation that the Saudis had for the Americans. You are not allowed to literally plant a flag, no flagpoles of the United States. You cannot put your flag anywhere on this base. Instead, you can put a little plaque on the side of the building so that your flag is not literally on our soil. And that was the deal. And that's exactly what happened. The US sets up its first military operation in the Middle East in the form of a landing strip that is right next to this oil field. Okay, so all of this infrastructure that the Americans were building required someone to build it. They needed a construction company. And there was one construction company that the Americans really liked that helped them build their oil city and their base. This company was founded and run by a guy named Mohammed. Now listen, do you think I'm really giving you the backstory on the construction company that built the air base and the oil city just because that's interesting and I like to talk about construction? No, this is actually very relevant to the story, and you'll see why very soon. So the Americans and the Saudis are having this forbidden oil bromance, and it's going really well, and they are just, the oil is flowing, everyone's getting rich. And meanwhile, the rest of the Middle East is looking at Saudi Arabia and they're like, dude, WTF? Why are you in bed with America? And why are you letting them set up a landing strip in your country? And the Saudi royals are like, do you realize how rich we're getting right now? If you were in our position, you would do the same thing. Egypt. Okay, so it's the 1950s, and let's get back to Mohammed, the construction guy. His company, by this point, is thriving. The American presence in oil land is just exploding, and he is building all of the stuff for it. And so this guy has a giant business. And he starts to have children. Well, in fact, he had a lot of children, 54 children, because he had 22 wives, because that is a thing in Saudi Arabia to this day. Anyway, the point is, one of Mohammed's sons is named Osama. I told you this was going to be relevant. Okay, a reminder that Saudi Arabia...
So you could watch this video, but as you can see, America has presence over there. So as America is going back and forth with this war with Iran, okay, these things, okay, these moves are going to bite America in the ass.
Security, our regional influence dies. Very important that you guys understand this. The only reason that we have military bases all across the Gulf was because we promised to defend them. Now that the rubbers hit the road and they're actually getting attacked, guess what's happening? We're not defending them, bro. AKA Big L. So it's going to be one of two things. Either A, we topple the regime, then we're able to stay in the Gulf, or B, we don't topple the regime, which is more than likely. And I don't see a scenario where the Gulf states are going to allow us to keep military bases there. Or if they do, it's going to be extremely limited. Why? Because those military bases are the reason they're getting attacked in the We made a promise. Hey, we will protect you in exchange for you allowing us to exert our power regionally in the Gulf. And now that the rubber's meeting the road, we're not doing what we're supposed to do. We're protecting the Israelis more than the Gulf states. And they're already complaining about it, okay? So we look ridiculous right now. And all those military bases are now cooked and destroyed all across the Gulf. Qatar, Bahrain, UAE, Oman, Kuwait, they all got cooked. So are they gonna let us go back in there and rebuild the military bases while the regime is still there in Iran if we don't topple them? No, because they know that opens opens them up to retaliation.
See, this is 2nd Esdras 15, right? In 28, behold, a horrible vision, the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, that they which hear them may fear and tremble. Okay, and again, they're going to send your sons and daughters over there to fight these, to be tapped into this. And the Carmanians, which is Iran, look it up. All you got to do is look it up. Raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. All right, and that could be abroad, because if you again, we showed you America is the modern day Assyria. We showed you that, I believe, in a couple of videos ago. So go watch that, all right, or look up a lesson. We have various lessons on how Assyria prophetically can be linked to Babylon the Great. All right, because, you know, Syria, that land was originally built by Nimrod. Okay, this is in the region of, you know, modern day Iraq. You know, what Nineveh was the capital. You see, so this is a very hot region. All right, period. History-wise, you know, and present-wise, prophecy-wise, this area is a lot going on in this area, man. Because the determination of the Lord is getting ready to be set. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature. All right, they're going to have the upper hand. If they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them, then these shall be troubled bled and keep silence through their power and flee. And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them and consume some of them, and then their host shall fear and dread. Okay? Behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full wrath and storm. They shall smite one another upon the earth, and they shall smite down a great multitude of the stars of the earth. Okay? And their own star and blood shall be from the sword upon the belly, and the dung of men unto the camel's hoof. Meaning basically men are going to be piled in death as high as the camel's hoof. Okay? And there shall be great fearfulness and trembling upon the earth, and they that see the wrath shall be afraid, and tremble shall come upon them. And this is when women are going to be joyful. To be, you know, us as men, then, you know, when this is all happening on the earth, women are going to be very much easier to deal with. Okay? I mean, this is just going into, you know, fire, hail, and flying swords. See that? Flying sword, war. The end of Esau's world is wow, man. Wow. Let's get Isaiah 34. Yep, this is the book of Isaiah 34 and 2. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury upon their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountain shall be melted with their blood. See, and this is all tied to the World War III coming in. The host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and their host shall fall down as a leaf fallen from the vine of a fig tree. Okay, and the heavens being rolled together as a scroll is tied to Revelation 6, World War III, that great earthquake. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven, behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. So this world war is to end Esau, Edom, the third part of men, the sons of the wicked, to end their rule, to end their age. In that, though, before that happens, there's going to be a war. And your president, all right, under the orders of Amalek, are going to order your sons, daughters, husbands, wives, cousins, uncles, brothers. Okay? And I might even tell the elderly, your ass got to go fight. Who knows what they'll do that you got to go fight in this war.
But it says, no, there's no active duty military. Don't worry about that. But automated registration of the selective service system remains in place as a contingency, and it's going to start in late 2026. Now, when I typed in for Canada, is there a draft? Is there a mandatory military service? It says, no, Canada it's totally voluntary. It's been voluntary since World War II. In other words, it was mandatory during a world war, but it's not mandatory when there's no world war. You know what I mean? So if there was another world war, it's all of a sudden, like, to me, it's not very convincing to say, like, no, don't worry about a draft. The last one was during a world war.
The White House is considering a military draft. No, I'm not exaggerating. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt was on an interview with Fox News, and the anchor asked her, hey, what do you say to those parents who are worried about their sons being drafted to fight in a war they don't agree with? And Carolyn Leavitt basically said, oh, we're not ruling out any options. Let me explain to you what that really means. The only reason you even consider a military draft for a conflict is because you are planning a ground invasion and you are expecting it to have high casualty numbers. Every angle I look at this situation from, I can find no other reason that they're refusing to rule out a military draft other than they are planning a ground invasion of Iran. You may be telling yourselves, oh, this will be just like Vietnam. No, it will be so much worse. Unlike Vietnam, the government of Iran has spent the last 30 to 50 years preparing for this conflict because they knew it was coming. That means they are better prepared for the scenario, better supplied, and better trained. And it's also worth noting that as a percentage of Iran's land, they are one of the most mountainous countries on the planet. The Iranians know those mountains, the United States doesn't. So here are some things to keep in mind. First, look up conscientious objectorship. Figure out how to apply for it. Figure out how to win an application for conscientious objectorship, because that will keep you out of a draft. Second, start talking about fragging as publicly and often as you can on social media and in real life. Keep in mind at all times that the penalty for refusing draft summons or draft deployment is a far better alternative, even though it is a 5-year sentence in prison. We had no indication that a draft is imminent.
Damn, nigga, 5 years? So we're gonna need the Lord. We're gonna need the Lord. If you niggas think you got some type of economic plan that's gonna get you out of what this man is fit to do on the earth, then you out of your mind. Okay, you're through.
Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, they attack these places. And these places are like, what's going on? We're neutral, man. We're not involved in this war. And the airport was shut down in Dubai. At one point, the rich people in Dubai were willing to pay about $250,000 US just to get on a plane and get out.
So you see how now being them Arab countries being tied to Babylon is biting them in the ass. It was good, money, and you were able to, live on a high horse, and you didn't use the money that you made with Esau, Edom to, forward righteousness where you were. Again, some of these places are better than America's, but there's still a large wealth gap. There's just a small amount of people with all of the resources, man. And as they enter into this NWO, the elites, they ain't gonna agree. Okay, things are gonna spiral out of control.
Out of there. So the reality is this: for the longest time, Dubai had a reputation for being safe, and that's why people moved their money there. Guess what, guys? After what the Iranians did, it's dead. Dubai as a city, in the long term, it is dead. Because you're a wealthy Westerner, you're not going to move to a place where it could be attacked anytime by the Iranians. You might move to Singapore, you might move to Hong Kong, Japan, South America, but you're not moving to Dubai. So the big question for us is, why did the Iranians do this? It was the Israelis and the Americans who attacked you. Why go after the GCC? And not only that, but they're escalating the attacks against the GCC. So this is something that we will look at very closely today. Well, the short answer is because these places, even though they pretend to be neutral, they house the American military. They allow the Israelis and the Americans to use their airspace to attack Iran from. So this is Bahrain. Now, Bahrain is interesting, okay? Because I want you guys to remember this. But Bahrain will probably be one of the major centers of this conflict. Because, first of all, this is the American Fifth Fleet. Right? This is their naval base in the Middle East. And as you can see, the Iranians are attacking it with missiles, and it's being blown up. Bahrain is interesting because it has about 50% or even more, okay, Shia, which is the religion of the Iranians. But the people in charge are the Sunnis. And so what makes this strike really?
As you can see, these Arab nations have differences. But this situation, I believe, through what I'm, is going to fulfill what we're reading in 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter, where the nations of Arabia gather together. They're already talking about building an Arab NATO.
News: a major meeting of Arab and Muslim countries was recently held in Doha, Qatar. During the meeting, Egypt's prime minister reportedly suggested that Arab and Muslim countries should form an alliance similar to NATO to support each other when facing difficulties. Pakistan's finance minister Ishaq Dar also supported this idea.
Some Arab countries are now signing defense pacts, like Saudi Arabia and Pakistan just did. Now imagine if the whole Arab world united under one alliance, like their own NATO. After Israel's recent strike on Qatar, this idea feels less like fantasy and more like necessity. Picture Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Iraq, and the Gulf states forming a joint shield. Millions of troops, massive defense budgets, nuclear backing from allies, and control of oil routes that fuel the world. An attack on one could mean an attack on all. That would change the balance of power in the Middle East overnight. But here's the question: would such an Arab NATO bring lasting peace or spark even bigger conflicts?
So we're witnessing prophecy be fulfilled, okay?
Really important from our perspective is, first of all, not only the Iranians attacking U.S. military assets, not only they destroying the economies of the GCC, they're also trying to ignite a religious war, right? Because you're Shia, you're loyal to the Ayatollah. If he's dead, then you must, as a religious obligation, now commit jihad. against your enemies. It's no different in other religions where, listen, if you want to kill the Pope, the Catholics would be really angry at you and they would want to kill you, right? So now you have the Shia who will probably eventually arise, creating a revolution in Iran, okay? So I think Iran will be the first to fall, Dubai will probably go bankrupt, but in the long term, we can expect the entire GCC area, including Saudi Arabia, to eventually collapse, okay? And so this is something we'll use game theory to understand. All right, let's continue. So we will know how this war develops just based on geography, okay? So this is a map. This map, even if you don't really know the war, if you don't know the participants, even if you don't know the weaponry, this map will tell you exactly how this war progressed. All right, so some certain things to keep in mind about this map. This is what we call this area, okay? Really small, but it's 33 kilometers wide, okay? People can swim across it. It's really, really narrow, okay? This small area, guys, it's called the Strait of Hormuz. And it's important because it's really the center of the world. This one area is the nexus, the pivot of the world. Let me explain why. First of all, from the GCC, you have 20% of all the world's oil flowing through this narrow strait. Where does it go, guys? It goes to Asia, India, Pakistan, South Korea, China, Japan. India depends on 60% of its oil from this area. China depends on 40%. Japan, 75%. Prime Minister Takaichi of Japan has said that, listen, if the Strait of Hormuz closes, we will run out of oil in about 8-9 months. The entire Japanese economy would collapse in 8-9 months if the Strait of Hormuz were to close. And guess what? The Iranians have closed the Strait of Hormuz. So we can expect that the entire global economy will suffer greatly over the next few months. So that's point number one. Point number two is, so the GCC sends oil across the Strait of Hormuz, and what do they get back in return? Food, guys. All right, so people don't appreciate the GCC, but it is really the linchpin of the American empire.
See that? This is what set America, their ability, they conquered different parts of the earth, but then their ability to rule and have embassies on their behalf set up in eastern states. And then you got to understand the state of Israel came, and eventually now they want control of this, their plan is to basically control that whole, and how are you going to do that? It's going to take a bloodbath. It's going to take, but at the end of the day, these are the things that happen. And hopefully this is making sense to you, because it's so much happening and so much that you could, get, but, it ties to prophecy, and that the goal is that you get it, so hopefully we ain't just talking. Okay.
What's the American empire? The American empire is the petrodollar, all right? The idea of the petrodollar is this. The US dollar is worth nothing. It's all.
What's that? Habakkuk, the second chapter, right? Habakkuk 2:4, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. Okay? Who enlargeth his desire as hell and is as death and cannot be satisfied. So everything is gonna work against this devil, man. Neither keepeth at home. Nawa. Okay? It says he is a proud man in the Hebrew Chaldee lexicon. He is a proud man, does not rest, but seeks disturbances and wars. Also to dwell. So Esau, Edom, is that proud man that neither keepeth at home. Meaning he's all around the planet Earth. Okay? Stirring up confusion and war. Okay? How many war is the United States currently in? Okay? Six different wars right now.
Only value when people want it. But the GCC says that if you want oil from us, you have to pay us in US dollars. Okay? Then that is the basis of the value of the US dollar. So if the GCC collapses, the American economy and the American empire both collapse at the same time. The problem, though, is the GCC is an artificial construct of empire. It does not exist naturally. Why? Because there's no food, there's no oil, no water. Okay, guys? No food, no water. So these cities are able to grow in the millions because of all these petrodollars flowing in. If you close off the Strait of Hormuz, there's no food coming in. They're all going to starve. How much food does the GCC get from overseas? 80%. 80% of all the food it consumes comes from overseas that it imports. It doesn't grow by itself, it imports. So the Strait of Hormuz is really key. And again, the Iranians will close it in order to strangle the global economy and therefore bankrupt the American empire. Second thing you will notice is these mountains. These mountains is what we call Iran. All right, this is Iran. This is GCC. Okay, this is not a fair matchup, right? Because these are mountains. What can you do in mountains? Well, you can hide rocket bases. You can hide drone bases. You can hide missiles. And that's the entire Iranian offensive strategy. From here, they can hide missiles and drones from which to attack the GCC. And what are they attacking? They're attacking three things, right? They're attacking American military bases. That's number one. Is it possible for the Americans to defend against these attacks? The answer is no. It's the safest thing in the world. You have all these bases in the Middle East, but you cannot defend them against the Iranians. That's kind of strange. Okay, but that's number one. Number two is oil and energy. How hard is it to blow up an oil field with a drone? Not hard at all. Can you defend these oil fields? No, you cannot. Number three, and that's most important, is water. You guys don't know this, but the GCC has little access to fresh water. So the only way that it can produce water is what we call desalination plants, okay? These factories that take salt water and then through an electrochemical process turn it into fresh water for the population to use. 60% of the water supply in the GCC comes from desalination plants, okay? 60%. Is it hard to blow up a desalination plant using a drone? The answer is it's very easy, you understand? Okay? So you have this absurd situation where Iran is a mountain fortress where it can hide its offensive capacity, and the GCC is just this desert, this flat desert, and it is exposed to attack, and there's nothing it can do about it. So at any point in this war, the Iranians can choose to just destroy the entire GCC, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it. But Iran also has a weakness, okay? And this is fundamental. So Iran also has a water problem, okay? So for the longest time, they suffered a drought issue, okay? Just climate change. And so what the plan of the Israelis and Americans is destroy the water supply of the Iranians. Because the fortress, it is a mountain fortress, but it can also be a mountain prison as well, where people are trapped inside with no access to water. Okay, so what we're going to see right now, we're already seeing attacks on civilian infrastructure, hospitals. In the future, you'll see attacks on water supply, on dams, on reservoirs, on power plants. The idea is to make Iran so inhabitable that the people will have to rebel against the people, or there'll be refugee crisis in Iran. So as you can see from this map, this war, it is the end of the world. Both sides have the potential to destroy each other. It's really a question of how far do they want to go. We can also say this is almost a game of chicken. We can blow each other up. How far do you want to go? And the problem is this. The problem is that the Iranians are Shia, which believes in martyrdom, and you kill the religious leader, that's a Khamenei. So they're willing to go very, very far. The GCC countries are Muslim, but they're materialistic. They love money. And also, most of the population are expatriates, foreigners. 9% of Dubai are foreigners. Guess what's gonna happen if they suffer? They're gonna run away.
Right? Or they're going to, ally together against, okay? What's that? 2nd Esdras 15, and this is in the GNT. Okay? Woe, 14, woe to the world, and the people in it are doomed. All right? The war that will bring their destruction is very near. Nations will arm themselves to fight against nations. There will be great political turmoil. All right? Because you see these wars and rumors of wars, these things have economic consequences. These ain't things that's just happening. See, the American people have been pampered through that petrodollar and the dominance of the dollar. You've been pampered over here in the Americas. All right. And the fact that you're surrounded by waters too. All right. To invade America it would take a very, but America has been infiltrated. The enemy is within now. See? So, this is going to basically lead to great political turmoil, with one group trying to overpower another and gain control while ignoring the legitimate government. So the people are going to say, we're taking America back. This is going to be your Edomite, with a nice stable of, weapons, who is going to fight for his American dream. Okay? And Jake, in their simplicity, is going to try to join with him. All right? And in the meanwhile, you're going to be a target. Right, and you're gonna lose. They that consent to them should be had in derision. Okay, and you're gonna have people rebelling against the chip. They're gonna They're gonna ignore the legitimate government. Okay, and the elites have this all planned out. But more than anything, the Heavenly Father has it all planned out. There will no longer be any free access to the cities, because the struggle for power will bring great destruction. terror and total confusion wherever people live. Driven by famine and terrible suffering, people will assault their neighbors and mercilessly plunder their possessions. The Most High says, I am calling all the kings of the earth to come from north, south, east, and west to turn back and restore what they have taken. Okay, so this war, all right, is not only for the payback to the heathen and their utter defeat, right? But ultimately to establish his children under Yahweh Shai on earth as the true chosen people, man. I will pay them back with the same harsh treatment they have always given my chosen people. The Lord says. They used to make Jake fight to death. Well, the Lord is going to have you all fight to death, man. Okay, imagine two slave masters watching two Jakes fight, and the fight is not over until one dies. Or if they don't do it, you know, he burns them alive or boils them alive. Well, now you're getting ready to pay for that and more. And you're not going to be able to change the prophecy, all right? You can try to change the history books. You know, you're doing these documentaries to try to, you know, justify what you did and, you know, act as if you are the greatest thing that happened to the world. And ultimately, you're now being found out to be the problem. And this is what all of these things are going to lead to for you American people and for you people all around the world who are already suffering from this is just a small back and forth. They ain't really using, you know, what they really got. So this is just a small thing, but in the grand scheme of things, it's doing more effect to Babylon. Okay? This is to, you know, control your spirits, control your minds, you know, prepare you for the worst, you know, to gain, you know, control of your spirit. There's a lot of energy harvesting going on. It's a lot. You have to be very, very mindful. You know, and the beauty of it is that we have the Holy Spirit to be able to just go into these things and show you this is the scriptures, man, right here. So it comes a rest. The scriptures say, right? Scriptures say, to you who are troubled, 2 Thessalonians 1:6, seeing it is a righteous thing with the Most High to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. And this is all a part of it. See? And to you who are troubled, rest with us when Yahweh Shai shall be revealed from heaven with his mighty angels. See that? And see, when he comes back, okay, the heathen, okay, Revelation, the 19th chapter, upon his return, because he's going to return with the chariots of salvation, right? Do you believe that? Right? This is what we believe. This is the book. Oh, no. What I want is 2 chapters earlier, but that's a good one too. This is the book of Revelation 17 and 14. These shall make war with the land. These European nations are going to lead it off, right? Because they're Edomites. But these other different nations are going to, you know, join together pursuant to the book of 2nd Esdras 13, right? They're going to fight against our Lord, man. That's another aspect of what's getting ready to happen. 2nd Esdras 15, all right, or 2nd Esdras 13. And let's see here. Yep. Verse 32. When that happens, the signs I told you earlier will take place, and then I will reveal my son, whom you saw coming as a man coming out of the sea. When they hear his voice, okay, Yahweh Shai is coming, all the nations will leave their own territory, forget the wars they have with one another, and come together in one great crowd, too large to count, as you saw in your dream. So Ezra saw the end result. He saw the coming of the Lord in a vision. Imagine that. And he's writing it for us. The nations will unite with the single purpose of making war with my son. He will take his stand up on the top of Mount Zion, and New Jerusalem will be seen by everyone, us going up into the chariot, is going to be seen by everyone. Revelation chapter 11 and 12. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, Come up hither. And they ascended into heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. In the same hour was there a great earthquake, the fall of Babylon. And the 10th part of the city, the zip code goes from 0 to 9, the 10 FEMA regions they talk about, the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000. A certain amount of people are preordained to burn in a lake of fire, which is here in Babylon. And the remnant were affrighted and gave glory unto the God of heaven. So as this happens, as we see this destruction, we're going to be beamed up. Because what's getting ready to happen is all of these nations are going to turn on the whore and on the small hat. Everybody's going to come to the conclusion, the only reason we really have friction, all right, yeah, we may not agree ideologically, but ultimately for this new world, it would be better if we just did away with these niggas. Okay, we'll do away with these niggas, and we can have China lead the MOTB infrastructure. We don't need the small hat in America anymore. And a lot of the European nations are going to join with Russia, Iran, right? Which, let's get this real quick. Alliance exposed. American generals urges action against Russia over Iran partnership in deadly conflict. Okay, so what's being exposed, what the West is saying is basically that Russia is getting helped by Iran. I mean, Iran is being helped by Russia. Okay, let's see here. Assistants say he could explain the improved accuracy of Iranian missile and drone attacks. Like, why are these niggas so on point? Why were they so ready? They had to be a ally to Russia, which is prophetic. Okay, Ezekiel the 38th chapter. Isn't this a beautiful story being played out right before your very eyes? Okay. This is fun. Ezekiel 38 and 4. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaw, speaking to Gog. Okay. Magog of the land of Gog, right? Which is in the area of Russia, which these are originally Japhetic lands that Edomites colonized and took over. Okay, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. So Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, which are all countries, that have suffered at the hand of either the British or American or the small hat empire, right? They all suffered at the hands of these devils in some shape, form, or fashion, especially Libya, right? So Persia, which is Iran, which these are the people who allowed us to rebuild our temple. Okay? The Persians. See that? And we are witnessing some very, 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 very beautiful things happening in our lifetime. In our lifetime, we're witnessing these great prophecies come to pass. And we're able to explain it to you. Piece by piece, through the Holy Spirit. Again, we have this treasure in earthen vessels. We're mere mortals, all right? But we seek immortality.